Nah, we're running okay. We should have audio. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gavin Syme Show. You know, people are angry. And when people get angry, they do really dumb things. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'll give you guys a few minutes to get in there, because I think tonight's show is worth talking about. Even though, to be honest, what I'm going to show you tonight is, to me at least, a bit disturbing, because it really reveals a lot about what we're becoming. And tonight's video highlight is going to be from down here in Central Mexico. Omar from Tijuana, good to see you. Saddle Tramp, everybody get on in there. Let's keep this chat going. You guys tell me tonight what you think about how I handled this. And you tell me what you think the solution is, and I'll tell you what I think of what you think. And that's okay, because a dialogue is what keeps us all going. And so tonight we're going to talk about how to stop a lynching. And we're going to use tonight's activity that I ended up in the middle of as an example of that. Now, it's interesting. Viva la Resistencia. Only Transformers. Pat, good to see all you guys in there. You know, we've been seeing so much hate and so much psyops and propaganda. They use the hate, they use the psyops, they use the death of people like Charlie Kirk to keep people unfocused on the crimes they're doing. Did you guys know that just a few hours after they assassinated Charlie Kirk, the Senate was voting on a motion to quash the discussion of releasing the Epstein files? Did you know that every Republican except two, Rand Paul and who was the other one? One other one is on the list. Every Republican except two voted, Josh Hawley and Rand Paul were the nays. Every Republican voted to quash the release of the discussion of releasing of the Epstein files. And every single Democrat voted to have a discussion about releasing them. Now, you know that I'm clear on this channel that the parties are two birds of the same feather. And they're all playing the same game. But it's pretty interesting. And so while everybody is adoring over Charlie Kirk, and don't get me wrong, I feel for this, and even more for his family. Now, was Charlie Kirk a defender of freedom and liberty in the Constitution? Absolutely not. If you listen to what Charlie Kirk said in his so-called debates, it's like he never even read this. But he simply chose to simp for the party and for the faction. But that doesn't mean we go around assassinating people. And we have this idea where everything's black and white. You know, if you oppose Israeli genocide, therefore you support terrorism. If you oppose what Charlie Kirk said, because now he's a martyr, therefore you're a leftist. Everywhere we look is hate. And the government's not doing that on accident. They're making sure that everything we have is hate. Now, what I've done tonight's video was on the streets here in Central Mexico in Querétaro State. What I'm going to do is put this video up. This went on, I rolled up on this scene tonight, and they were beating this guy. And so, as you'll see in the video in a second, and I felt like I had to not drive away. Everybody, as always, just stood there and watched. Literally everybody just stood there and watched or participated in the beating. And I'm disappointed in humanity. I'm disappointed in everyone thieving and being dishonest and lying. I'm disappointed in the people who think that justice is beating and killing and assassinating. And that's never been my message. My message has always been resist the tyranny, but do it with honor. Do it with a standard. Do it with some values. What I'm going to do on tonight's video is I cut out, it's like 30 minutes long. You don't want to see all that, especially if you don't speak Spanish. So what I did is cut out just kind of like 4 minutes of like the pertinent points of what's going on, because it drug on for a while. And the police took like 45 minutes to show up, of course. Now, I know police are pretty much useless, but because we're stuck with the police, we don't have a justice in the form of like a community council or people being calm. Everyone wants to lash out at people they accuse because the police are so inept, which they were tonight as well. But does that mean we beat the crap out of people? And this is something that you see fairly often here in Mexico. Street justice against petty theft, because the police aren't going to do anything, they're just going to let them go. Okay, I get that. But I don't think this is the solution either. Okay, so tonight I was driving down the road going to the store, and I came across this scene where these guys were beating a dude on the side of the road. And I pulled up, and what I'm going to do is I've cut the video down to be like 4 or 5 minutes instead of 30 minutes, because it's mostly in Spanish, and I'm going to translate / paraphrase, so it's kind of quick and easy as we go through it. If you understand Spanish, you can do that. But I'm going to do that in real time as we watch this, just so you understand what's going on in the context. And then we're going to talk about how to stop a lynch mob, and what a lynch mob is, and why it doesn't actually work in today's Liberty School lesson. Yes, we have constitutions, yes, we have laws, but we keep saying, look, the police are useless, they're too busy extorting us to actually stop any crime. That is largely true. They're too busy extorting us to actually show up. That's largely true, and it was tonight. I stood around, and I don't know how long this had gone on before I got there. I stood for 30 minutes watching them beat this guy who was accused of stealing, and here's what happened. And this is what happens when we don't have a justice system. All right, so let's pull this up. Let's pull this up here. Let me kind of switch to this mode here so you can see it. Let me stretch it out a little bit so it fills the screen. And let's just kind of walk and talk, and you guys tell me what you think. All right? So here I am rolling up. They're hitting me. I didn't do anything. What's going on here?
No, eso no se vale.
That's not okay. He was stealing. Detain him.
No, es así la
No.
justicia, amigo.
This isn't
No es
justice.
algo en private o
It's not something that you do in private.
No va a ser
No,
así. de
no, we're not
ninguna
doing
manera.
that. We're not doing that at all.
Yo,
He was stealing
yo
wood.
entiendo, ahora es bien mal.
I understand.
Entiendo.
I understand.
Sí, los rateros están bien mal ahora.
The thieves are bad and they're
No
everywhere.
estoy poniendo en la lado de él, solo
I'm
no
not on
quiero
his
que
side.
pase algo mal porque
I
estamos
just don't want
enojados,
anything bad to
amigo.
happen. I just don't want anything bad to happen.
I know, but they're gonna... No sé, no, también nunca llega. Yo sé que son, ellos son
The
igual
police
rateros.
never come. They're thieves too. So at this point I got out of the car because they were just getting pretty aggressive. My hand is broken. My hand is broken. Wait. So they're hitting him. Now Sandra also turned on her camera to back me up now that I was out of the car.
Un día agarró un carrito de Soriana, perro. Y le dan una chinga. Pinche ratero.
Pinche thief.
Mi jefe me lo dijo.
I'm gonna tie you up. I'm gonna tie you up. Roll over.
Ya, mi mano, la tengo rota. La tengo rota, la tengo rota. La tengo rota, la tengo rota.
My hand's broken. My hand's broken.
Ya, tengo rota mi mano.
I gotta be honest.
Tengo rota mi mano.
I wasn't feeling good about any of this.
No, nunca he robado ya. No, nunca me vieron robando.
He said, I didn't rob anybody. I didn't rob anybody.
Tengo tablas rotas, ¿dónde te
Mi
las
mano
llevaste,
está...
güey?
No, nunca me he
Llevaste
robado.
la cartera.
Ah,
tu puta mano para trabajar, hijo de la
Ya, ya basta de pegarlo.
Stop. Enough hitting.
¿Vas a defenderlo?
Are you going to defend him?
Defendiendo justicia.
I'm defending the justice.
ya nunca he robado.
No, cabrón, te tratas de matar.
¿Cómo vamos
¿Lo
a-
vas a defender?
Are you going to defend him?
Solo sin defendernos que ponemos la cama. Yeah, speak English.
Let's talk.
Let's talk.
I'm just defending the law. You know, I think it's really important to understand this. And I've said this for years. And I'm so tired of everyone just sitting and watching abuse, watching the police abuse. Now, I've always had a camera. A camera is a great way to protect yourself. When people know they're being filmed, they do behave differently. People say, you shouldn't stop. It's none of your business. You shouldn't meddle. And that's even harder when you're in another culture. I don't try and be an activist here. And I think you always want to be the calmest voice in the room when everything is going to shit. But one thing I'm not going to tolerate, and one thing I won't have, is people just doing whatever they want and deciding what justice is in the moment when they're angry. That's not justice. It's not law. And we got where we are by allowing a government who corrupts justice, by allowing police who corrupt justice, and by allowing abuse. Okay, but let's come back because there's a couple more minutes here.
Talk in English.
So you're gonna defend this guy?
Are you going to
I'm defending, solo defending having calm. I don't know what he did. I wasn't here. But you're going to regret later just beating him. How's that help
No, yo
us?
quiero que entienda y que la gente vea que hay garrateros que se los va a cargar la
Sí,
verga.
está bien
The
feo,
thieves need to
pero
understand. They need to
hay un
understand.
límite que tenemos que...
Deberemos de matarlos a la verga.
No.
We need to kill these thieves is what we need to do. No, we're not doing that.
México nunca hará
I just want us to be
si
calm.
no ponemos calma y justicia.
We'll never progress if we don't have
Yo
justice
sé
and
que son
calm.
bien inútiles. Ya, entiendo. Estoy
I
de
understand.
acuerdo.
The police are useless.
Diablo, no, te lo juro que no. Te lo juro que
No. Ya, cálmate. Ya, calma.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Mi mano la tengo rota. Mi mano la tengo rota. Mi mano la tengo rota.
My hand's broken. I don't know if it actually was. Who is he? Is that my brother? Ah, it's not her brother. Now she doesn't care. As long as it's not somebody belonging to her, she doesn't care if it's unjust. I thought it was my drunk brother, she says. If he was drunk, it wouldn't be a problem. But he's stealing.
Yo sé. Solo tenemos, esta línea es muy fino, tenemos que
This
con
line
mucho
is very
cuidado
fine.
en eso.
This
No,
line is
¿sabes
fine.
cuántos lynches tienen en México por esta mamada?
We have these
Pero
lynchings
luego la persona ni
for
está
these
culpable.
things. And then the person's not even guilty. We're not doing that, is
Eso
what I
es que yo,
said.
que llevo.
Ay, ya no me estoy.
Does this seem like justice? What if this was your kid?
No. Es suficiente. Cálmate. Ya me voy. Pasa, amigo. Con cuidado.
Now, this is after the police showed up, and I know that the police are pretty well useless, and everybody is pissed at the police because not only did they not show up, so this guy got beat for 30 minutes, right? So we take justice into our own hands, right? Because the police never do anything. But then people that get accused of this stuff and they're stealing from, well, they just get let go. But yes, that does happen. I hear this in the States too, but you got to have evidence. I don't care. And this goes back to the fundamentals of law. People say that I'm an idiot, that I'm a fool, that I'm a meddler, that I'm woke. These are people that don't have any understanding of justice, of constitutions, of due process. This is not stuff I invented. This is Blackstone. This is the Founding Fathers. This is the Constitution. This is John Locke. Literally, the principle of our law and our justice system is it is better that 10 guilty escape than one innocent suffer. And everyone always tells me when it's them that has somebody accused, when it's them that's been victimized, when it's them that's been robbed, no, they don't deserve justice. No, they don't deserve due process. I hear this with immigrants. I hear it with thieves. I hear it with people accused of grave crimes. It's bullcrap. Everyone. Everyone deserves justice. You know how this stuff ends? You know how this stuff ends? When you don't step in? Here's how it ends. Here's a story from Mexico. They beat and burned a man alive, a poor man, because he stole broccoli. Because he stole broccoli. Now, Mexico, lynchings are fairly popular. They happen a couple times a year, where these lynch mobs, just like this. And people say to me when I intervene, it's nothing, that's just how we do it here. Do you know how lynch mobs happen? Because it's how we do it. Do you know how lynch mobs happen? Because everyone just stands around. Everyone just stands around and they don't do anything. So how do you stop a lynch mob? You stand between them. And you say, no. Now, I didn't try to be like the super meddler. I didn't come in screaming like a Karen. I'm not saying that somebody who stole something shouldn't get a couple thumps, but it really shouldn't be on the street. See, these prison sentences are useless. Let's not pretend that sentencing someone to prison actually fixed the problem. We'd be better off going back to 10 lashes of the whip on the post or a day of the stocks in the public square than locking people in a concrete cell for 6 months. That doesn't fix them. It just makes things worse. See, we have a problem. People think since the government isn't just, that therefore we'll decide in the moment what is justice. And when we decide in the moment what is justice, it almost always is injustice. You cannot be the person that's accusing another person as well as judge, jury, and executioner of that same person. That will never, ever be justice, because even if you were wronged, your perspective will be skewed 100% of the time. Now, this guy is saying, okay, his friend threw a rock at me, right? He could have killed me. All right, that's valid. He's saying he stole this stuff. Look, they stole wood and they stole these tubes. Now, I drove by and it was kind of a house in construction. Now, this doesn't excuse people stealing stuff. And I know we're all sick of thieves. I've had stuff stolen from me too, many times. Down here, in the US as well. And you know what? Everybody says like, oh no, it's, you're not the one that's been robbed. You're not the one that's been wrong. Well, guess what? I have been many times. Not once when someone's stolen from me did I want to just hurt them. What I want them to do is I want them to be held accountable in some way. I want them to have to pay restitution, but it doesn't help them to be locked in a cell. That doesn't bring justice. It doesn't bring my stuff back. You see, we're not talking about justice anymore. And this is what's happening with all these cases of left against right, of party against party, of brother against son, of all of us fighting. They give us more and more ridiculous things to hate each other over, that one party supports this and the other party supports that. And what we're not realizing is the people that we're saying have authority over justice are the most unjust criminals of all. So what do? We just beat people to death on the street. Now listen, let's be clear. And when I rolled up on this, I got to say, when I rolled up on this, these people were standing around, right? These people were standing around when I rolled up on this, and I was like, okay, this doesn't look good. And so I stopped. And instead of just standing around, you know what happened when I rolled up? That kind of was shameful to me, is I rolled up, and I'll just kind of scrub through just a little bit from the main video. Because I rolled up and all these people were standing around watching this happen, right? And I rolled up and you can kind of see over here on the right. All these people are just kind of standing around watching them beat this guy, right? And when I started speaking and pointing the camera and saying I wouldn't turn it off, this whole crowd of people that was watching, they ran away and shrunk back over into the shadows. They weren't saying anything. They weren't doing anything. Now, I also want to come back, though, to this guy that claims to have been robbed. And everybody's sick of the thieves. And yeah, there's a lot of them. I get that. It pissed me off too. I'm not actually blaming him. He's sick of getting robbed and he's pissed off and the police don't do anything. And so everybody's kind of standing around like, the guy probably deserves it. We're sick and tired of thieves. Yeah, this is what they need. But that's how a lynch mob starts. If you let yourself have that mindset of we're gonna take justice into our own hands and we're just gonna do this without any process. I didn't see the thief steal anything. I don't know for sure. Do I think the guy was probably lying and he probably did steal something? Yeah. He was probably guilty of petty theft. Does it matter? No. The way you stop a lynch mob is you have a pair of balls, as Stephen Ruth said when he started knocking out traffic cameras in New York 10 years ago. You have a pair of balls, and you don't just stand and watch. You step in, and you get in their way. Now, I'll be honest, I was scared. I didn't want to get out of the car. But when they kept beating this guy, I'm like, this is not okay. This is not how we're going to do it. And as I said when I came up, I said to them, you know what, we have laws, we have justice, it's almost Independence Day, and that's not how we're celebrating it. You see, I'm not just protecting the person being accused of theft. This guy and his friends that were pissed because someone stole from them, maybe they were justifiably pissed. They probably were. And so I'm not really saying that they're the devil in this either. But we need to have more control. I still am ashamed that this is how we resolve things. I'm ashamed that everyone stands around watching a guy get beaten when they don't know the facts. This is how people get gas poured on them and lit up. This is how people get beaten to death. Did that happen here? No. Would it have happened? I hope not. Probably not. And yet, every lynch mob starts something like this, with people standing around saying nothing. People that don't have the values and the courage because they say it's none of my business. Well, guess what? It's your business, and it's my business. Law is life, liberty, and property. It's due process, and it's justice. And it's not created by governments. It's created by men and women that have the values, and the brass ones, to stand up and say, you know what? We're not savages. We're not a lynch mob, and we're not going to behave that way. Now, again, people have a right to be sick and tired of this. And that's why I tried to keep the calm and didn't just go in freaking out because a few punches have been thrown, because Mexico's a lot more wild, wild west, but this stuff happens all over the world. But when they kept doing it, I said, you know what? No. And it worked. Because I had a camera, because I was calm, because I was clear that I was not there to defend thieves, I just wanted us to be calm. Now, could I have gotten hurt? Could you get hurt for stopping a lynch mob? Yeah, especially if you come in late. But I think if you stand up and you step in early, if people would start growing a pair and defending justice instead of just what feels good in the moment because they're mad and the community's mad and they're tired of this, and actually think about, what if that was my son or my brother down there getting beat up? If you have a pair of balls and a few guys just stand up and say, nope, we're not doing that, like we did tonight in this video, maybe we'd start to learn how to defend justice. That's just my thoughts on it. I hope you learned something. That's what I did tonight. All right, now I'll get back to your comments. I just wanted to stay on topic here, you know what I mean? And if you guys are coming in late and just missed the video of of the beating of the thief, you can rewatch this. I'll probably post the actual cutout video of this, as always, the main topic of this. So let me just look. Appreciate it, Pat. Chicken Boy. I'm on pretty frequently. Thank you, Sheree. When society degrades to a certain point, lynch mobs happen. Yes, but lynch mobs happen because you degraded. Lynch mobs happen because you don't stop and say no. Lynch mobs happen. The first time I saw a video of someone, I think it was in Guatemala, it happens here in Mexico too, and it's happened many times in the US. The first time I saw a video of someone having gas poured on them and being burned alive while the town square stood and watched, I said to myself, if I'm ever in that situation, I'm not going to be the guy standing there, and it doesn't matter if they kill me too. It's called having character. It's called caring about actual law and actual freedom and actual justice, not being a part of the left or the right, like we see, and everybody just simping for government. Evil is taking over because we don't love our neighbor. We have inept police and government and so many thieves because the government is intentionally creating chaos and insecurity and poverty. This is not an accident. It's all a psyop. And the idea is that you devolve into animals. The idea is that you're savages. The idea is that there is chaos. But not on my watch. And it shouldn't be on your watch either. Because I always worried about this, to be honest. And you know what? Maybe someday they'll kill me over it. So be it. But I've actually worried because I've thought, lynch mobs is not one person saying, I want to be a murderer today. It's people's energy and anger justifying each other in the moment to go too far. And I've thought about it a lot because I've seen these stories and these videos. And most of the time when people are murdered in a lynch mob, they didn't end up even being guilty. Now, was this person really a thief? It's certainly possible. Based on the way he's responding, obviously he wanted just to protect himself at the time because they're beating the guy. How much more would they have beat him if I didn't turn the cameras on them? How far would they have gone? They didn't seem to be bothered by the fact that they were beating a guy because they were angry. Now, this isn't a discussion of self-defense. People have a right to defend themselves if someone's attacking them, whether that someone attacking them is a normal street criminal or a police officer or an ICE agent. People have a right to defend themselves. But what I want you to understand from today's video is that if you come in and your goal is peace, I didn't want to get in a fist fight. There were 6, 8, 10 of them. I didn't want to end up getting kicked or lit on fire. And so I tried to come in with a strong voice, and I was very clear from the outset, we're not doing this. But I also tried to be understanding to the people that were angry, because I'm sick of the thieves too, and I'm sick of the inept police that never show up for anything important. The police are there in seconds if it's to extort you, or if it's for your license plates or your papers. But when something actually is happening, they're completely useless. And so people say, well, you wanted the police to show up. Well, what I want is that we don't have the police we have now, because police are a criminal organization. The police show up and at least they take the guy away from the mob and there's an ability to calm. Will justice be done? Probably not. But the guy's not going to be beaten to death on the side of the road. But if we didn't have those police and instead had a community that cared, we would have a constabulary. We would have a local community council that dealt with matters of justice. And because there was action in that justice, people say, Gavin, you just want to get rid of the police. Yes, I absolutely. The police we have now, whether it's in Mexico or the US or pretty much anywhere in the world, are a criminal organization. We need to get rid of them. They need to be fired. They need to be removed from any and all power and authority. But that doesn't mean that you don't have any sort of community watch or local constabulary. But the people that are doing that have to be held to the accountable of life, liberty, property, and due process as well. You can't act like criminals to stop criminals, is what I'm saying. And if you don't understand that, in watching today's video, you don't understand justice. You don't understand the law. And that's why I'm always teaching the real law on this channel. It's why I talk about the constitutions of various countries, or the declarations, or the pacts that we make. But I'm always reminding you that justice starts here. The due process is a right of everyone. It has nothing to do with nationality or citizenship or whether you're part of the club. And that if you support a lynch mob or the denial of due process in any form for anyone, it will eventually come for you, your children, your family, your husbands, your wives, your brothers. No one wants to hear me talk about justice, because I think secretly everyone wants it to be a lynch mob because it feels good. But this isn't a movie. This is real life. And there's consequences for the things that you accept. Anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Peace, you guys. Try to love your neighbor as yourself. That's all I was trying to do today. It's late. Everybody's tired. The chat room's barely moving, which is a good time for me to sign off. Because if you guys aren't even engaged and falling asleep over there, me more. All right, guys. I'll post this video later for you guys to come back to. How long have we been live? Not too long. Not too long. Well, 30 minutes. Too long, I guess. Stay safe wherever you are, whether you're in fascist USA or corrupt Mexico or anywhere in the world. Try to resist. And you know what? I'll tell you something. I was actually worried tonight. I was worried because I'm always the foreigner down here. I talk funny, and they see me as meddling because they just want to be allowed to beat a guy and have some fun and be pissed off. And I'm the guy raining on everybody's parade all the time, coming in talking about law and justice. And at one point, the guy pulled a knife. He wasn't directly threatening me. He pulled a knife and he said, if I wanted to hurt him, he'd be down. But these are situations where people can lose control quickly. So turn the camera on and be very, very calm. As calm as you can be. When things are going to shit, be the calmest person in the room and run a camera. And do the best you can. And if you can't have backup, as soon as I went out to the street, Saunders started recording from the car. And that was good too. Because then you got that backup view, which you guys saw in the video. That was good. That was good. All right, you guys. Stay safe. Be peace. Appreciate the comments, the support. Defend justice. And stop the lynch mob.